Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But on the day when Master Injian's family died, my ancestor was not in the village at all. Instead, he went to Okawa Prefecture to purchase equipment. The government at that time also proved this. My ancestor did not leave the village because of the villagers' suspicion, but chose to stay here to pass on Master Injian's craftsmanship until today. Komiya Jinjie said to Shinichi. Shinichi sat on a wooden stool, supporting his chin with one hand, and continued to ask as if he was listening to a story, then what? So why do those people now think that the monster that suddenly appeared will be Injian from 100 years ago? Komiya Jinjie showed a trace of hesitation on his face, but still said, because every family that lost a child will have many more ornately decorated silver mirrors at night, and the casting method of this silver mirror, except for Master Injian, no one else knows it. My ancestor only learned the casting method of bronze mirrors from Master Injian. Shinichi was a little surprised. After kidnapping a child, will you leave behind a silver mirror? What the hell, does this bastard think he's buying something? Komiya Jinjie also gritted his teeth and said unwillingly, that's right, but the most chilling thing is not this. Although some families lost their children, they took those silver mirrors to the city to sell. Unexpectedly, those silver mirrors were extremely popular. Each one was sold at a high price. One silver mirror was even sold for thousands of yen. So now the villagers not only don't want to catch the evil ghost, but also want to make a fortune with the evil ghost. Hearing this, Shinichi was really surprised. No matter how greedy these villagers are, they can't do such a thing, right? Are these people crazy? For money, can they even abandon their own children? Komiya Iji was also very angry. He smashed the wooden table angrily, then took out a package from a box with grief, opened the package, and two luxurious and exquisite silver mirrors were placed in front of Shinichi. Komiya Iji's eyes were wet, and he said in a trembling voice, my brother, Ingsi, is also missing. I have always hoped to catch that damn evil ghost. But the villagers always intentionally or unintentionally obstruct me. I went to the police station, but the villagers insisted that I was talking nonsense and there was no evil ghost at all. The police didn't believe me either. I couldn't catch the evil ghost by myself. Until not long ago, two ghost hunters who were about the same age as you appeared. They claimed to be members of the Demon Slayer Corps and came here to eradicate the evil ghost. I told them everything. They also promised me that they would eradicate the evil ghost. But now several days have passed, and the two members of the Demon Slayer Corps have lost their traces. The night before yesterday, another child disappeared. I'm afraid that the two members of the Demon Slayer Corps have already. Komiya Jinjie's tone was full of frustration, while Shinichi on the side was thinking about something. The Demon Slayer Corps has also been here. But from what this guy said, it is obvious that the two people failed, and now it is estimated that they are in danger. However, this guy's words cannot be fully believed. The evil ghost who can make mirrors seems to be related to the mirror maker in front of him. The missing brother? It is possible. Shinichi thought secretly in his heart, but he was also sure that there must be evil ghosts in this village, because he smelled a faint smell of the same kind on the two silver mirrors. Don't worry, I'll take care of the evil ghost. Thank you for your help tonight. Goodbye. Shinichi took Yuenji and left Komiya Ike's wooden house, even though the latter kept urging them not to rush and wait until daytime before leaving, or to seek help from more ghost hunters, but Shinichi didn't plan to do that. Not to mention his suspicion of Komiya Ike, he couldn't call for the help of the Demon Slayer Corps. It would be good if the members of the Demon Slayer Corps didn't cut him twice when they met. With the help of the faint moonlight, Shinichi quickened his pace, ran slightly to help, then jumped into the air, quickly climbed a big tree, and soon reached the highest point, overlooking the entire Terasai village. Ah! Yuenji cried anxiously under the big tree. It was so round that it couldn't climb up. Shinichi held his forehead helplessly, and used telepathy to let Yuenji chase the smell on the silver mirror in the village. Yuenji stopped shouting after receiving the master's order, shook his chubby head, and then staggered into the darkness. At the highest point of the tree, Shinichi closed his eyes, opened his lips slightly, and began to breathe in a strange and regular manner. Invisible vitality began to gather towards him, and the tree under his feet seemed to tremble slightly as if it was blown by the wind. Forest breathing, type 8, Xiao forest eyes, swish. When Shinichi opened his eyes again, the green pupil of his left eye seemed to flash with light, and everything in his eyes had changed drastically. In Shinichi's eyes, he could see another vitality is running. There is the vitality of plants, the vitality of various small animals, and even the vitality of tiny lives growing underground. Everything appears clearly in Shinichi's eyes like a thermal image. And the vitality of every villager in Temple West Village is even more visible in Shinichi's eyes. The vitality of humans is quite huge and extremely conspicuous. This is the first Senju that Shinichi has comprehended besides the 7 types of Senju taught by Grandpa Moriki. The 8th type, Xiao Senyen, runs the huge vitality force in the eyes, permeates every root nerve and blood vessel in the eyes, and makes the retina have an extra layer of vitality film, so as to achieve the ability to see through all vitality. With this ability, no evil ghost can escape in front of Shinichi. However, although the 8th type, Xiao Senyen, sounds easy to practice, the eyes are one of the most complex organs of human beings after all. In the process of practice, once there is a little mistake, it may cause blindness. Therefore, for hundreds of years, only a very small number of Moriki disciples have been able to practice successfully. However, for Shinichi, eyeball blindness. Then just take it off and grow another one, right? So the first thing Shinichi successfully practiced was not the first 7 forms, Senju, but the 8th form, Xiao Senyen. In his green eyes, the vitality of all creatures in the entire Temple West Village was revealed. Soon, Shinichi found something wrong. In the north of the village, there was an extremely large group of vitality moving rapidly. Such a huge vitality is absolutely impossible for ordinary humans to achieve, and it is impossible for the trees with long vitality. Trees will not run, so there is only one possibility. Evil spirit. Found you. Shinichi smiled coldly on his face. At the same time, Yuan Air's telepathic warning came. Little Meat Dumpling didn't slack off. I'm relieved. Then, go, swish. In an instant, Shinichi's figure leaped down from the tree like a sharp arrow, and rushed straight to the place where the evil spirit appeared. Chapter 32. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the dark night, a silver figure moved quickly between wooden houses like a ghost, and soon, the silver figure stopped on the roof of a wooden house. In the faint moonlight, you can see the strange appearance of the naked upper body. The exposed muscles are smooth and shiny as if they were smeared with silver powder. The fingertips have long and sharp red claws. The weirdest thing is the deformed face, a big mouth grinning to the ears, sharp fangs and scarlet tongue are clearly visible, and the eye sockets where the eyeballs should grow are now like 2 small silver mirrors forced in. There is no doubt that this is an evil ghost, the evil ghost called Silver Mirror by the villagers of Shishi village. The evil ghost Injian was half squatting on the wooden roof, his pale nose slightly twitching, and his big mouth began to drool quickly, fragrant. Really fragrant. Such tender flesh and blood is worthy of 5 silver mirrors. As soon as the voice fell, Injian raised his claws and swung them down suddenly, and the roof of the wooden house was easily broken. Swish. The evil ghost Injian easily broke into the wooden house. The sudden intrusion of Injian caused the screams of the owner of the wooden house and the screams of the little girl. Under the faint moonlight, the evil ghost Injian looked extremely hideous and terrifying. In front of Jinjian was the little girl who wanted to remind Shinichi but was stopped by her grandfather during the day. The little girl in a skirt was full of fear and shrank behind her grandfather, trembling. The little girl's grandfather was also full of fear, but he still said in a trembling voice, Jinjian, today, during the day, a stranger came. I saw it. The stranger went to Komiya Ike's house. Can I enjoy the stranger first? Sizzle. Injian licked his lips with his tongue, and the 2 silver mirrors in his eye sockets reflected the frightened little girl and her grandfather. It was okay before, but not tonight. This little guy's meat is too fragrant. I want to enjoy it tonight. She is worth 5 silver mirrors. As he spoke, Yin Jian opened his mouth wide, and then, in the blink of an eye, a beautiful silver mirror was spit out from his mouth, one after another, a full 5 beautiful and gorgeous silver mirrors, although covered with saliva, but still made the little girl's grandfather's eyes widen. Such a silver mirror, almost every one of them is worth the silver mirror that was sold for 3,000 yen before. Just when the little girl's grandfather was stunned, the evil ghost Yin Jian could no longer hold back, and the silver mirror in his right eye socket suddenly lit up a light, and then the trembling little girl suddenly felt a huge suction, and the next second her whole small body was dragged away by an invisible force. Grandpa! Grandpa! Save me! The little girl reached out to her grandfather for help in a shrill voice. Yuko! The girl's grandfather screamed, but his footsteps stopped where they were. Although his tone was full of sadness, the 5 silver mirrors lying on the ground were too tempting. Swish! The little girl disappeared in an instant, and the girl's grandfather knelt down in vain. Gaga! The evil ghost Yin Jian seemed to enjoy this ugly appearance that tested people's hearts. He licked his lips again. He only liked fresh and tender children. Forget about the old and frail old man. By the way, the old man just said that there are foreigners. It's not bad to change the taste occasionally. Yin Jian squatted down, and jumped directly onto the roof with a power accumulation. He locked the direction of Komiya Jingjia's house. Is it there? He the evil ghost Yin Jian laughed evilly, just in time to get close to the 2 little ghosts of the Demon Slayer Corps who were caught 2 days ago, and had a big meal together. After the meal, he took the girl as dessert. Just as Yin Jian was imagining the wonderful taste of human flesh and blood in his mind, a sudden strong sense of crisis came. Swish! In 1 second, Yin Jian's body instantly jumped off the roof. Swish! A green blade flashed, and the wooden roof where Yin Jian had just stopped was instantly broken in half. The sudden attack not only alarmed Yin Jian, but also many villagers around were awakened by the noise and got up to investigate. The broken roof raised countless smoke and dust. As the smoke and dust gradually faded, Yin Jian arched his body, showing his fangs, and shouted at the figure in the smoke and dust, "Who?" Holding the emerald green Nichiren sword in one hand, Shinichi walked out of the smoke and dust with a cold face. He frowned slightly after just one look at Yin Jian. What an ugly guy. Yin Jian felt the breath of the Nichiren sword in Shinichi's hand and laughed ferociously. I thought it was someone else, but it turned out to be another kid from the Demon Slayer Corps. You are really stupid. You came to me one by one. I have to thank you. They are all good meat with good tendons and taste great. Wait. On your body? Ugh, such a strong smell of wisteria flowers, so disgusting. Shinichi raised the Nichiren sword, looked at the evil ghost in front of him, held the handle with both hands, and said lightly, "Ugly monster, stop talking so much nonsense." Okay, stupid blind ghost with an ugly mirror in his nest, how did you know that I was in the same group with those straightforward guys in the Demon Slayer Corps? Crack. Like a thunderbolt, the evil ghost Ginkami didn't hear clearly what Shinichi said, but he heard clearly that his mirror was ugly. Damn human ghost. You pissed me off. Ginkami opened his huge mouth and pounced on Shinichi. Shinichi's eyes were slightly solemn. Come on. The sun will sword pointed straight at the opposite side, without any extra skills, holding the long sword high and slashing vertically. Snap. Snap. The red claws instantly collided with the green sun will sword blade, colliding with sparks. Ping ping pong. The evil ghost's claws and the demon-slaying long sword kept colliding. Shinichi stepped on the ground steadily, the sun will sword flew up and down, and countless green blade lights wrapped around his body like a tide. After just a preliminary fight, Shinichi was completely relieved. Whether it was strength, speed or even attack skills, the evil ghost in front of him was not enough, not to mention that he had opened the strong and cold roar of Xiao Xiao Sen's eyes. Every time the evil ghost silver mirror was about to attack, the vitality of the gathering can be clearly reflected in Shinichi's left green eye. Unlike the calm Shinichi, the sweaty evil ghost Ginkami turned into a human ghost in front of him. The human ghost in front of him is completely different from the two weak swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps before. This guy's swordsmanship and strength are just like a monster. Could it be? Today, he met the pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. He retreated slightly to avoid the tearing of Ginkami's attack, and the Sun-Will sword turned a circle in his hand. He took advantage of the situation to bend over and hold the long sword diagonally to accumulate power. A trace of heat came out from the corner of his mouth, and the green sword light in his left eye shone a little. Forest breathing, 5-type blue bamboo breaks the sky. The emerald green sun blade instantly raised up, and the dazzling green slash came out. Puff! Jinjian's smooth body was instantly split in half, and his body was also chopped and flew out. As Jinjian flew backwards, his broken internal organs and blood and flesh were scattered everywhere. Looking at Jinjian, who was half dead by his own sword, Shinichi disdainfully shook off the ghost blood on the sword, so weak. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Crack. The sound of bones rubbing against each other rang out, and the evil ghost Jinjian slowly twisted his body like a stiff puppet and stood up from the ground again. Countless flesh buds were wriggling in the huge crack of his chest that was split diagonally. A crack appeared on the silver mirror in his right eye socket, but, damn it. You little human ghost. So damn it. You are not even worth a silver mirror. The furious Jinjian shouted to the sky, but Shinichi had completely lost interest in Jinjian. Such a weak evil ghost was not even as good as the evil ghost Karasuma at the beginning. Holding the Nichiren sword tightly, Shinichi slid back and leaned forward, as if he was ready to go. The last blow. Forest breathing, 1-form iron birch slash. Bang! The moment Shinichi took the first step, the ground beneath his feet cracked instantly, and his body was like green lightning, and the blade of the Nichiren sword made an indestructible horizontal slash. Facing this terrifying knife, the evil ghost Jinjian stood still without any intention of dodging, and even showed a cruel smile with his big mouth wide open. Snap! Jinjian suddenly clapped his hands and yelled crazily, "Blood Demon Art Magic Mirror." Instantly, the air in front of Jinjian fluctuated. Snap! It seemed that something was condensing, and in an instant, a piece of transparent glass appeared in front of Jinjian. At the same time, its left eye silver mirror lit up a dazzling light, shining on the glass, and just like that, a large silver mirror appeared in front of Jinjian. And Shinichi also killed in front of Jinjian with the powerful 1-type, and the silver mirror clearly reflected Shinichi's appearance, the same Sun-Will sword, the same 1-type iron birch slash. That is looking in the mirror, but suddenly, Shinichi felt a faint sense of crisis in his heart, and it was like a splash. A shocking scene happened. The shadow reflected in the silver mirror seemed to have emerged from the silver mirror. The shadow that looked exactly like Shinichi held the Sun-Will sword horizontally and slashed at Shinichi with the forest-breathing form with an expressionless face. The sudden scene made Shinichi stunned for a second, but soon he and the shadow's attack collided with each other. Boom! The terrifying air waves flew everywhere, and the earth trembled. Almost the same force collided with each other. Shinichi's palm was slightly numb, and his feet stepped back uncontrollably. When he stood firm again, held the Sun-Will sword, and looked in front of him again, the shadow that looked exactly like him had disappeared. Only the evil ghost Jinjian held the silver mirror and laughed crazily. Ha ha ha. Little human ghost, don't try to struggle. No matter how strong you are, you can't be stronger than yourself. Under my blood demon technique. Sooner or later, you will die in your own hands. That with a frown. Before Shinichi could ask any more questions, the evil ghost Jinjian proved what it meant with his actions. Jinjian slapped the silver mirror fiercely. Blood demon technique, mirror shadow kill. Ripples appeared on the surface of the silver mirror like the surface of water, and then 3 blurry figures emerged from the silver mirror. They were 3 expressionless shadows, one of which was exactly the same as Shinichi, and was the shadow that had just fought, and the other 2 shadows, wearing the same black uniform, with the word clearly printed on the back, were obviously the 2 demon slayers who came here to fight the evil ghosts before. The three shadows used their strongest attack at the same time. Shinichi's shadow, forest breathing, 1 form, iron birch slash. The two shadows of the demon slayers also used the 1 form and 7 form of water breathing. Can you imitate a move? You underestimated this ugly ghost. Such a weird and powerful blood demon technique is comparable to Ten Karasuma. Shinichi showed a cautious expression on his face. Clang. The emerald green Nichiren sword shook, making a pleasant sound. Forest breathing, land form, strong grass, wind, hurricane strike. A strong wind rose from the ground, and one after another, countless green slashes surrounded the body and scattered. Bang! 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 The three shadows collided with the hurricane formed by countless slashes. The three powerful attacks dissipated after offsetting some of the slashes, and the three shadows were easily shredded. The knife stopped, the hurricane stopped. Shinichi's eyes were fixed on the evil ghost silver mirror. This ugly ghost seemed to have its limits. Of the three shadows, he didn't know the shadows of two of the demon slayers, but his own shadow was different from the beginning. The one type used by the shadow just now was not even 30% of his power, so, was it just a flower stand? The evil ghost silver mirror opened its exaggerated mouth. Of course it was a flower stand, but it was also a large number of flower stands. He slapped the silver mirror hard. Blood demon arced mirror shadow killed multi-kill. Buzz buzz buzz. The silver mirror's wave-like mirror surface kept trembling, one after another. Dozens of hundreds of confused and wriggling shadows gradually emerged. TSK, this is a bit tricky. Shinichi looked at one after another. Expressionless shadows walked out of the silver mirror. Although it was clear that the strength of these shadows was not very good, the huge number still made people's scalps numb. Come on! In Jian roared. The next second, dozens of shadows rushed towards Shinichi. For a moment, dozens of water-breathing slashes and forest-breathing slashes were densely packed towards Shinichi. Facing this attack that was like a net of heaven and earth, Shinichi forced himself to suppress distracting thoughts, empty his heart, feel the vitality of all things in the air, and stimulate forest breathing. Before countless attacks were about to come, forest breathing, 4-type, dandelion dance, that the body was like a graceful and flying dandelion, and it did not lose its strange beauty while dodging and moving. In the countless attacks that seemed to be a net of heaven and earth, Shinichi actually dodged them all easily as if he was strolling in a garden. What? In Jian was stunned. If it had eyeballs, it must have widened its eyes at this time. How could this human kid dodge such a dense attack? No. Come again. If dozens of shadow kills are not enough, then come 100 more. In Jian made up his mind and had to kill this little human ghost today, no matter the cost. But just when In Jian was about to use the blood demon technique again, a black shadow as fast as lightning suddenly rushed out, like a sharp arrow from a string, and rushed straight to In Jian's face. The black shadow was too fast, and In Jian was suddenly pounced on. Ah! A majestic black wolfhound with scarlet eyes opened its mouth, and after a violent wolf howl, it snapped, and its sharp fangs easily bit off half of In Jian's head, and also bit off the small silver mirror with a crack in In Jian's right eye socket. Ah! My mirror! In Jing let out a heartbreaking scream, and suddenly, the large silver mirror standing upright on the spot fluctuated, and a shadow of a demon slayer rushed out, waving the sun-will sword and slashing at the black wolfhound, but in the eyes of the black wolfhound, its speed was too slow. It's not good enough. The 4 claws just dodged the attack of the shadow of the demon slayer core with a casual flash. Covering the empty right eye socket, the silver mirror stood up shakily and roared at the black wolfhound, "Give it back to me." Buzz buzz buzz. Shadows rushed out of the silver mirror and pounced on the black wolfhound, and the first one was a shadow of Shinichi. The black wolfhound bared its fangs and pretended to be its master in front of it. It opened its mouth slightly towards the silver mirror, and the next second, endless airflow gathered. Chapter 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Waves of invisible ripples surged in the mouth of the black wolfhound. Bang! Both claws clashed to the ground, and then, ah! Blood demon art, shadow wolf howl. Buzz. The wolf howl that almost became a substance suddenly roared out from the mouth of the black wolfhound, and the invisible air even deformed. The shadows that rushed over were annihilated the moment they came into contact with the wolf howl. Crack, 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 crack. The silver mirror beside the evil ghost Yin Jian also cracked into countless lines, and its chest exploded, with blood and flesh flying everywhere. How is it possible? Yin Jian knelt on the ground, his ferocious mouth still muttering impossible, but at the moment the wolf howl ended, a very fast green sun-will sword had already chopped towards its neck. Forest breathing one form iron birch slash, ping. The harsh sound of metal clashing rang out, and an expressionless shadow holding the same sun-will sword, using the same trick, blocked Shinichi tightly. Gaga, poof. No, it's useless. Under the blood demon art, magic mirror, no matter how strong you are, you can't beat yourself. Yin Jian spit out blood and mocked. Shinichi felt the continuous power coming from the sun-will sword. The shadow in front of him did have the same power as him, but the weaker shadows before had disappeared, proving that the power of this ghost also has a limit. Really? Then can this fake be this? Shinichi smiled coldly, and then the pink right eye lit up instantly, and turned scarlet visible to the naked eye. The cold face began to add a hint of ferocity, and two sharp fangs unconsciously revealed the corners of his lips. The sneer on the evil ghost Yin Jian's face disappeared, replaced by endless panic and confusion. You too. Before Yin Jian finished speaking, Shinichi, with fangs in his mouth, let out a low roar, blood demon art, blood rage. Under the skin, boiling blood instantly filled all of Shinichi's blood vessels and muscles, and the hand holding the sun-will sword immediately bulged, with veins exposed. In an instant, Shinichi's strength doubled several times out of thin air. Die. No. Crack. Bang. The cracked silver mirror shattered instantly, accompanied by Yin Jian's extremely unwilling and fearful shouts. The green blade light flashed, and a silver head soared into the sky. Shinichi glanced coldly at the struggling body. Rubbish. He strode to the head with panic on his face and raised the sun-will sword. No. No. You too. I can feel it. You are also a ghost. Why? Why is it like this? We are the same kind. The evil ghost Yin Jian asked the most unwilling question before his death. The ghost features on Shinichi's face were slowly fading. He casually took out 2 wisteria flower pills from his pocket and threw them into his mouth. His scarlet right eye turned back to a soft pink color. No, I am not the same kind as you ugly guys. I am Shinichi, the ghost hunter swordsman Shinichi. Puff. The sharp Nichiren sword pierced directly into Yin Jian's head, and a slender branch snaked along the blade of the Nichiren sword. Blood demon art, life absorption. The powerful suction instantly sucked Yin Jian's life. In the unwilling roar, Yin Jian's head turned into ashes. And Shinichi's eyes also reflected Jin Jian's life. To be precise, it was not Jin Jian, but the descendant of mirror maker Jin Jian, an uneducated hooligans, who accidentally learned the identity of his ancestors from a family letter one day. So he went to Teranishi village with a licking face and found the Komiya family, trying to get back the mirror casting technique passed down by Jin Jian, but the Komiya family would never care about a hooligans who suddenly appeared, so the hooligans with evil intentions targeted the youngest child of the Komiya family, Komiya Hideki, and deceived this simple child with lies, and got the mirror casting technique passed down by the Komiya family and a small silver mirror passed down by their ancestors. But before the hooligans were happy, the unlucky guy met a group of bandits that night, and was robbed of the last bit of money, and his throat was cut by a sharp knife. At the moment of death, the hooligan seemed to touch something smooth. It seemed to be a pair of leather shoes. There was also a low voice in my ear, "You are so ugly, a dying insect. The unwillingness in your eyes makes me interested, but I don't like such ugly eyes." That night, an evil ghost was born. The eyes that were despised by the adult were replaced by a pair of silver mirrors. This evil ghost with confused memory named himself after his ancestors and also targeted the humans in Terasai village. In just 1 year, he killed and ate more than a dozen children. The sadness of human nature. Shinichi put away the Nichiren sword and muttered softly. He didn't know whether he was lamenting the despicable human nature of the evil ghost Injian or those greedy villagers, because he saw in Injian's memory that some greedy villagers even offered their children as offerings. At the same time, the owners who had been hiding in the dark and observing were also communicating quietly. Is the silver mirror dead? Killed by that foreigner? It seems to be really dead. Then won't our children be safe in the future? But, won't there be no silver mirrors to sell in the future? As soon as these words came out, all the villagers fell into silence. Shinichi didn't care about these villagers with ulterior motives. He raised his hand and waved in a certain direction. Soon, the black wolf dog, which was as big as a calf, came to Shinichi in an instant as if it had electricity under its feet. Aoo! The black wolf dog howled excitedly twice, and its body changed. The majestic wolf body began to shrink, and it turned into a fleshy ball in a while. The long wolf kiss gradually shortened into the unique smiley face of Shiba Inu. Yuan Air was picked up by his master and howled excitedly. Shinichi also rubbed Yuaner's head, feeling the sense of credit coming from his heart, and praised, Yuaner is great, you didn't let me down. I will reward you to eat more tomorrow. Let's not lose weight. While coaxing Yuaner, Shinichi also noticed the broken silver mirror that Yuaner had just brought, and frowned. Why didn't this silver mirror disappear with the silver mirror? What's more bizarre is that he felt a faint breath of vitality in this silver mirror. Could it be? Shinichi put Yuaner down, picked up the silver mirror on the ground, looked at the crack on the silver mirror, thought for a moment, and then stretched out an index finger. The nail on the fingertip suddenly began to turn black and elongate, and soon formed a sharp black claw. Without hesitation, the black claw pierced the crack. In the dark night, a dazzling light suddenly broke out, and Shinichi only felt a flash in front of his eyes, and in the blink of an eye, 2 unconscious living people and an unconscious little girl appeared in front of him out of thin air. Looking at the demon slayer uniforms on the 2 men and the faint vitality on them, Shinichi was shocked, actually, still alive. He thought the 2 swordsmen had met with an accident long ago. Although he didn't like the demon slayer corps very much, Shinichi didn't intend to watch them continue to lose their vitality. He pulled out the Sun-Will sword, and the sharp Sun-Will sword easily cut small wounds on them. Forest breathing, second form, life willow, the illusory willow branches full of vitality at the wound quickly injected a large amount of vitality into the bodies of the few people, nourishing their bodies. Soon, one of the demon slayers moved, his tightly closed eyelids trembled a few times, and finally slowly opened, revealing black eyes full of confusion. Chapter 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Grandpa. The little girl with tears on her face threw herself into her grandfather's arms, but facing the resurrected granddaughter, the old man holding several exquisite silver mirrors showed an unnatural expression. There were quite a few villagers with the same strange expressions as the little girl's grandfather. The evil ghost silver mirror had been reduced to ashes, but many villagers did not smile at Shinichi who killed the evil ghost, and some even showed a hint of hostility towards Shinichi. Shinichi, who saw everything, didn't care what these greedy villagers thought, but not everyone was so depraved. Komiya Iji with tears in his eyes held Shinichi's hands and thanked him sincerely, Mr. Shinichi. I am really very grateful to you. After killing this monster, Ingshu's soul can rest in peace. Facing the excited Komiya Iji, Shinichi was a little unnatural. After all, he had suspected that he had colluded with the evil ghost before. Not to mention the villagers of Teranishi village, 2 figures also walked in front of Shinichi at this time. 2 young demon slayers who looked about the same age as Shinichi were ashamed and thanked Shinichi for saving their lives. They had just joined the demon slayer corps and were Ren-class swordsmen. They didn't expect to fall into a big trap on their 3rd mission and almost lost their lives. Now they even lost their Nichiren sword. Mr. Shinichi, are you also a demon slayer? Why aren't you wearing a team uniform? A demon slayer named Taiji couldn't help but point at the Nichiren sword on Shinichi's waist and asked. After getting Shinichi's negative answer, Taiji showed a regretful expression, and then persuaded, "It's a pity for an excellent swordsman like Mr. Shinichi not to join the Demon Slayer Corps. Our Demon Slayer Corps really needs outstanding swordsmen like you." "You can." Shinichi interrupted him, "Hehe, can someone like me join the Demon Slayer Corps?" "Forget it, I still won't cause trouble for your team." "But..." "Okay, that's it. By the way, do you have any way to contact the Demon Slayer Corps? I remember the old man said that your Demon Slayer Corps has a special department to deal with aftermath incidents, right?" Shinichi asked. Taiji and another Demon Slayer team member looked at each other. Although they couldn't contact the crow now, the Demon Slayer team members would naturally have backup means of contact. In fact, there are wisteria emblem families all over the country. Relying on this, they can easily contact the headquarters. "Yes, we will contact the headquarters at dawn, and the members of the hidden department should also come to help with the aftermath. That is, this time is really too embarrassing." Taiji said ashamed. Shinichi nodded, "Then I'll leave this place to you." He paused before turning to leave, and after a moment of silence, he reminded, "Some people in this village are greedy. I don't know if the Demon Slayer Corps will deal with these morally corrupt humans, but I still have to mention that some humans don't deserve sympathy." That after saying that, Shinichi strode towards the village entrance with Enji, leaving Taiji alone in a daze. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, the dawn of dawn slightly appeared on the horizon, and the orange-yellow sunlight opened the prelude to dispersing the night. On the path, Shinichi squinted his eyes and looked at the gradually rising sun. His mind was a little floating for a while, but at this moment, a vague call came from behind him. "Mr. Shinichi! Mr. Shinichi! Mr. Shinichi, please wait a moment." Shinichi turned his head and found that it was Komiya Ike who was waving his hand and running towards him. Shinichi raised his eyebrows. What did this person call him for? Soon, panting Komiya Inosuke ran to Shinichi, and after a long while he spoke. Mr. Shinichi, this silver mirror is passed down from generation to generation in our family. You took it back from the evil ghost. Although it has some flaws, I barely repaired it. Please accept this silver mirror as a gift." As he said, Komiya Inosuke took out the exquisite silver mirror from his arms. It was the silver mirror that Yuan Air bit off from the face of the evil ghost In Jian. At that time, there seemed to be a strange space in the silver mirror, and the little girl and the two demon slayers were trapped in it. Shinichi destroyed the blood demon space of In Jian and released a few people, and then threw it away. Unexpectedly, Komiya Inosuke actually picked it up and the original crack was also repaired. "This is your family heirloom, I can't accept it. It's just a piece of cake. Killing evil ghosts is my duty." Shinichi wanted to refuse, but Komiya Inosuke's attitude was very firm. He insisted that Shinichi accept the silver mirror. He believed that Shinichi's killing of the evil ghost In Jian was a matter of gratitude for both his deceased brother Inshu and the entire Teranishi village. If he did not express his gratitude, he would feel guilty, and said that if Shinichi didn't accept it, he would kneel down and kowtow. There are many greedy and corrupt people among humans, but there are more good people with good intentions. This is also one of the beliefs of countless ghost hunters who fight bloody battles. Shinichi had no choice but to accept the silver mirror. As a return gift, Shinichi gave him a bag of wisteria flower balls and a few Shinichi special dorayaki, and told him to plant more wisteria flowers at home in the future, and it would be best to find a good time to move out of Teranishi village, where human nature is complicated. Relying on the craftsmanship of the mirror maker, he has better development opportunities in the city. After saying goodbye to Komiya Jinjia, Shinichi officially said goodbye to this trip to Teranishi village. He didn't know where to go next. He took it one step at a time. After all, the road was under his feet. At dawn, Komiya Iji looked at Shinichi's back gradually disappearing at the end of the road, and said with emotion, "Mr. Shinichi is such a great man." He opened a bag of dorayaki given by Shinichi, smelled the sweet smell, and said with a smile, "But in some ways, Mr. Shinichi is also a young boy, who likes this kind of sweet snack." Komiya Ig picked up a piece of dorayaki, took a bite, and snap. There seemed to be a sound of stone solidification. The smile on Komiya Ig's face solidified instantly, and the whole person was motionless like a stone statue. Soon, the muscles on his face twitched uncontrollably, and the whole person's expression was extremely distorted. This taste. Ugh. On the road, Shinichi touched Yuaner's chubby head and muttered, "Such delicious dorayaki, Komiya Ig will be so happy to eat it, and I didn't bring much in total, it's really a bargain for him." Time flies, and more than half a year has passed in the blink of an eye. In a farmland, a huge evil ghost gradually turned into ashes. From the vague shape, it can be seen that it is a cow-shaped evil ghost. In front of the evil ghost's body, Shinichi, who was covered in mud, had an extremely serious expression. Because Shinichi found that something might have happened, he turned his eyes to Shinichi's hand and saw that the Sun-Will Sword Mori no Ryu, which had been passed down from generation to generation in the Moriki family, had a clear crack on the green blade at this time, and under Shinichi's gaze, snap. The knife broke. Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shinichi looked at the broken Nichiren sword in his hand and swallowed subconsciously. This was just an accident. In the past 6 months, he had killed more than 20 evil spirits with this Nichiren sword. In the past 6 months, Shinichi had never thought that the Nichiren sword would break, until he just killed a bull-shaped evil spirit. The opponent's blood demon art of hardening the skin really took Shinichi a lot of effort. At the moment when he cut off the head of the bull demon, the Nichiren sword forest dragon also had an extra crack, and then the scene just now happened. The Nichiren sword broke. Damn it, what should I do now? If the old man knows, he will definitely be angry, right? Shinichi looked a little embarrassed. At his feet, the head of the bull demon had not completely dissipated, and he was still shouting loudly that it was impossible. Shinichi, who was feeling annoyed, was disturbed by its barking. He raised his foot and kicked the huge head of the cow demon away with a violent kick. It's so noisy. Get out of here. Ah. Yuan Air came to Shinichi, his little tail wagging happily, staring at Shinichi with his bright big eyes, as if expecting something. After fighting with the evil spirits for more than half a year, Yuan Air's originally round figure gradually became thinner and more lovely. With a sigh, Shinichi put away the broken blade of the Nichiren sword, put the broken sword back into the scabbard, squatted down, touched Yuan Air's little head, and said with a helpless tone, "Okay, let's go back. It's been more than half a year, and I don't know if the old man is still strong enough." Ah! Yuan Air seemed to understand what his master meant, and barked more happily. He also missed the super nice big sister Chinana. Although he could eat his fill by following his master, it was too painful for his tongue. On an ordinary day, by the stream, a little figure in a patterned kimono was carrying a basket of freshly washed herbs. She raised her hand to wipe the sweat off her forehead, and her big violet eyes looked at the country road from afar. Soon, Shinobu Kocho, who was carrying herbs home, ran into her sister, Chani Kocho, who was also carrying a basket. Shinobu is awesome. Today I heard my dad praising Shinobu, saying that Shinobu has a talent for being a pharmacist. Chani smiled and touched her sister's hair. Although Shinobu Kocho was also very happy, she still looked like she was not that great. Kane's basket contained some freshly picked wisteria flowers. Seeing the wisteria flowers, Shinobu Kocho asked curiously, "Sister, are these the wisteria flowers ordered by Grandpa Marimu's family?" Kane held her sister's hand, nodded, and said gently, "Yes, Grandpa Marimu came to the pharmacy yesterday to order them." "Is that cold-faced man back?" "Shinobu, it's too rude to say that. Shinichi will be unhappy if he knows." Kane said helplessly, but Shinobu Kocho just snorted softly in her nose. She was a competitive little girl, and she also had some grudges. She remembered clearly that a cold-faced man had hit her hard on the head. The two sisters returned home talking and laughing. In the butterfly pharmacy, a villager was buying medicine in the pharmacy. Butterfly Yaoshin looked at the prescription in his hand and carefully prepared the medicine. At the counter, the bored villagers began to talk about the recent gossip in Takanagawa village. Speaking of which, Yaoshin-kun, do you know? Jinzhong has been missing for several days, and the police station hasn't found him. Xiao Yuan didn't go home last night, and his family has been looking for him all day today. Butterfly Yaoshin was preparing the medicine, and she didn't care much about the gossip in the village, but she still asked casually, really? Has Xiao Yuan been found? No, I heard that their family is ready to go to the police station, but I'm afraid there's no hope for those guys who are dawdling in the police station. I don't think they met any wild animals, right? After all, the two of them always like to go hunting in the mountains. Butterfly Yaoshin shook his head. I hope this doesn't happen. Xiao Yuan's wife just gave birth to a child last month. I hope Xiao Yuan and Jinzhong are safe. He handed the prepared medicine to the villagers, and the villagers thanked him and left. After sending the customers away, Butterfly Yaoshin began to clean some of the utensils he had just used. As for what happened just now, he didn't think much about it. Dad, we're back. Kane's voice rang out from outside the door. Seeing the two sensible daughters coming back with herbs, Butterfly Yaoshin smiled. Thank you for your hard work, Kane and Xiaonin. Go find your mother. Lunch should be ready soon. After putting down the herbs, the two little girls went to the backyard to find their mother Yuki. At the same time, in Takanagawa village, in a small forest behind the village, a dark and humid place in the wet cave, a pair of green and ferocious eyes slowly opened, and a low roar echoed in the cave, so hungry. As night fell, on the country road leading to Takanagawa village, Shinichi, with a sun-will sword on his waist, walked fast. The clothes he wore were no longer the same as when he just left here. Those clothes made of ordinary cloth were easily damaged in the battle with evil spirits, but compared to the beginning when he was carrying a bag all over his body, Shinichi was much simpler at this time. Everything was thanks to the silver mirror tied to the belt. Yes, it was the silver mirror obtained from the evil spirit Jinjian who met at the beginning. This silver mirror transformed by Jinjian's blood demon art seemed to have undergone a wonderful change and could lead to a different space. Jinjian once locked the captured children and the Demon Slayer team members in the silver mirror's different space. Although Jinjian was killed by Shinichi, the remaining silver mirror retained the ability of the alternate space, which was convenient for Shinichi. He stuffed all the sundries into the alternate space of the silver mirror and purchased a large number of supplies. Of course, using the alternate space of the silver mirror requires conditions. Shinichi needs to use his own blood to activate it every time, or use the blood ghost magic breath in Shinichi's blood to activate the alternate space of the blood ghost magic on the silver mirror. For ordinary people, it sounds cruel to cut their hands and use blood every time they use it, but for Shinichi's immortal physique, this is not a big deal. What's a little bleeding? I can even dig a piece of meat for you. Look. Shinichi, who was walking on the road, opened his lips, and his fangs automatically extended as soon as he thought about it. He pressed his thumb on the fangs, and blood suddenly came out. He casually smeared the blood on the silver mirror on his waist. The next second, Shinichi's hand flashed, and a piece of dorayaki with a sweet and greasy fragrance and a large piece of steak appeared in his hand. Throwing the steak, swish. A nimble figure quickly pounced, and Enji bit the steak that was half the size of his body and tore it madly. Shinichi also nibbled on the dorayaki in his hand. It's still a little lacking in taste, forget it, just eat it. Shinichi was a little dissatisfied with the taste of the dorayaki in his hand. Although its sweetness could choke an ordinary person, the man and the dog quickly walked along the road to Takanagawa village, but as soon as he stepped into the village entrance, Shinichi stopped. Wait, what's the smell? Blood. Chapter 37. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Blood smell. And the breath of a ghost. Shinichi's pupils shrank instantly, and the next second, his body rushed out like a sharp arrow, even leaving a residual image on the spot, and the dorayaki that he had just taken a few bites of fell to the ground with a bang. Butterfly Pharmacy. Half an hour ago, it had been night for a long time, and Butterfly Yaoshin, who had been busy all day, was sorting some utensils at the counter. Feeling a little tired, he said to his wife on the side, Yuji, help me make a pot of tea, I'm a little tired. The virtuous wife naturally would not refuse, and immediately got up and walked towards the backyard. Butterfly Yaoxin reminded again, by the way, let the children rest early, it's getting late. Okay, I know, but Yaoxin, you have worked hard too, remember to rest early today. Yuji replied. Butterfly Yaoxin smiled and nodded. After a while, seeing that it was pitch black and quiet outside the pharmacy, it was estimated that there would be no customers coming, so Butterfly Medicine Letter stood up and walked out of the counter, intending to close the door of the pharmacy, but just as Butterfly Medicine Letter closed the door, there was a strong knock on the door outside, and the wooden door was pounded with a rumble. Butterfly Medicine Letter frowned, thinking that the person knocking on the door was too rude, but he didn't think much about it. Maybe the customer outside had a very urgent illness, so Butterfly Medicine Letter reopened the wooden door and shouted loudly, please wait. I'll open the door right away. Is there any emergency? But the person outside the door did not respond. When Butterfly Medicine Letter opened the wooden door, he saw a vague black shadow standing in the darkness outside the door, with disheveled hair, his appearance hidden in the scattered hair, and his clothes in disarray. Butterfly Medicine Letter did not look at the appearance of the person who came, but hurriedly invited the person to enter the medicine house first, and turned around to show him the way. Please sit over there first, and describe your symptoms to me. Butterfly Medicine Letter turned his head and did not see that the figure outside the medicine house raised his head. Under the light in the house, it was a hideous green face, and the green eyes exuded extreme brutality and hunger. The face was densely covered with black blood vessels, and the slightly opened mouth was full of sharp fangs, and the crystal saliva was all over the fangs. It was a face of a tyrannical evil ghost. Hungry. So hungry. Meat. A low roar came out of the evil ghost's throat. Sorry, what did you say? Ah. Butterfly Medicine Letter just turned his head in confusion, and the next second, a bloody mouth suddenly bit his neck. Warm blood spurted out, instantly dyeing the entire medicine hall red. The screams of Butterfly Yaoxian alarmed Yuji, who was holding a teapot in the backyard. When the panicked Yuji ran into the medicine hall, she saw the most horrifying scene in her life. The hideous green-faced evil ghost was holding her husband Yaoxian tightly and biting Yaoxian's neck. The dazzling blood was all over the medicine hall and wet the floor. Plop. The copper teapot fell to the ground, and the boiling hot tea was also spilled all over the ground. Yuji let out a shrill cry, Yaoxian. The sudden movement also attracted the green-faced evil ghost who was gnawing at the flesh and blood. He suddenly raised his head from Butterfly Yaoxian's bloody neck, and his pale green bloodthirsty eyes instantly stared at the wailing woman. The huge movement in the front yard had already alarmed the two girls in the backyard, and the mother's screams also filled the eyes of the two children with fear. Butterfly Chanui endured the huge fear, trembling and cautiously opened the door a little bit, and then she saw a scene that could become her lifelong nightmare. A terrifying monster was lying on her mother's body and biting her. Her father's body fell in the medicine hall. The strong smell of blood could be clearly heard even more than 10 meters away. Chanui did not hesitate at all, and immediately retreated to the room, wrapped her sister Xiaonin in the quilt, hugged her sister tightly, and her body couldn't stop shaking, and her voice became extremely unstable. No, it's okay, Xiaonin, don't be afraid, it's okay, sister is here, sister is here. Butterfly Shinobu was very smart, and with the smell of blood in the air, she quickly guessed something, but for this child who was less than 10 years old, she couldn't imagine the cruel scene at all. Sister, what happened to Dad and Mom? Sister, I'm scared. Xiaonin, who was curled up in the quilt, had a crystal in her violet eyes. Kane's light purple eyes were also filled with tears, but tears would not be a weapon against evil spirits. The smell of living people could easily attract the hungry green-faced evil spirit, especially children, who were more delicious to the green-faced evil spirit. The green-faced evil spirit biting half of the bloody arms suddenly raised its head, its ferocious nose kept moving, and soon locked onto a direction. There. That direction. There was a more fragrant smell, more tender flesh and blood. Without any hesitation, the green-faced evil ghost immediately dropped the arm in his mouth and ran towards the room where the butterfly sisters were hiding. In the room, Kane hugged her sister tightly, with unprecedented piety in her heart. At this time, Kane hoped that the legendary god really existed and prayed that the god could bless their family. How she hoped that all this was just a nightmare. After waking up from the dream, she could see her mother gently calling her to get up, her father's stern but caring greetings, and her sister going to the stream to wash medicinal materials, but the sound of the shoji door being torn apart violently still pulled Kane back to reality. A sharp claw tore the shoji door apart, and then a hideous head that was more terrifying than any drama stretched into the room. Looking at such a terrifying evil ghost, Kane even stopped breathing for a while, and Butterfly Shinobu, whose body was wrapped in a quilt, also saw this terrible green-faced evil ghost. While extremely frightened, an unspeakable anger also filled the little girl's heart. The green-faced demon who saw the butterfly sisters was also very excited, and a lot of saliva was secreted uncontrollably. It smells so good. Just when the demon was about to pounce, Kane screamed, "No!" Without thinking, Kane immediately protected her sister under her body and chose to turn her back to the demon, and Butterfly Shinobu also cried and shouted sister. However, the expected pain and blood did not come. In the extreme fear of the two sisters waiting for the arrival of the god of death, a cold voice suddenly came into their ears. "You bastard! What did you do?" The familiar yet unfamiliar voice made the two sisters turn around in fear and numbness. I saw that the green-faced demon froze in place, and his body was still in a charging posture, and a green broken knife pierced deeply from the back of its neck and pierced out of its hideous and smelly mouth. On the blade of the broken knife, the ghost blood kept falling, and behind the demon, a figure stood under the moonlight with surging anger. The pink and green eyes were like fascinating gems under the moonlight. He twisted the sun blade tightly in his hand, and the green-faced demon let out a miserable wail. "Damn it!" Shinichi's angry roar echoed in the bloody butterfly medicine house. Chapter 38. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the tearful eyes of the butterfly sisters, Shinichi fiercely pulled out the broken knife that pierced the neck of the green-faced evil ghost, and the huge inertia directly caused the evil ghost's body to fly backwards. The green knife light flashed, and the head and body of the green-faced evil ghost were instantly separated. It was not over yet. Shinichi swung the knife as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, the head of the green-faced evil ghost was chopped into a pile of pieces in mid-air. From the appearance of Shinichi to the killing of the evil ghost, this process took only a few seconds. When the butterfly sisters walked out of the room hugging each other, they just saw the scene where the remains of the green-faced evil ghost turned into ashes under Shinichi's feet. Shinichi's eyes of different colors also looked at the butterfly sisters. For a moment, a hint of guilt emerged in his eyes. If he could have come earlier, their parents lying in a pool of blood in the backyard might not have been. The tears, fear and hesitation in the eyes of the two little girls were not unfamiliar to Shinichi. In the past 6 months, Shinichi had seen them on the faces of many people, those whose relatives were killed by evil spirits, but Shinichi's heart had never been touched like this, because the butterfly pharmacy family could be said to be one of the few families that Shinichi was familiar with and even felt friendly with in this world. Shinichi, who didn't know what to say, was silent for a moment, put away the sunwool sword, walked in front of the two sisters, looked at their tear-stained faces, hesitated, and finally reached for the silver mirror at his waist. With a flash of light, a handkerchief and a piece of dorayaki appeared in his hand. He handed the handkerchief to the older Kane, then broke the dorayaki in his hand into 2 halves, giving half a piece to each of the two sisters. After organizing his words a little, Shinichi tried to speak softly to Kane. "Take good care of your sister. Leave the evil spirits outside to me. Take your sister and hide in the room. Be strong." Kane looked at her father and mother lying in a pool of blood with tears in her eyes. Although she was heartbroken, Shinichi was right. She still had to protect her sister. So Kane held back her tears and said firmly, "I know, Shinichi, be careful." "Thank you." Shinichi nodded and turned to leave, but suddenly, he felt someone pulling his sleeve. He turned back in surprise. It turned out to be Shinobu Kocho, who was full of sadness and still sobbing faintly, with a hint of hatred and anger in her violet eyes. "The one who killed Mom and Dad, was it an evil ghost?" Shinichi rarely responded to the stubborn girl when facing Kocho Shinobu's question. Instead, he squatted down and patted her thin shoulders. Yes, those are the legendary man-eating evil ghosts, but don't be afraid. I'm here. I will kill all those ugly evil ghosts from this world. Don't worry. Stay with your sister now. I'll be back soon. Shinichi stood up and gently stroked Kocho Shinobu's black hair. Then he turned around and accumulated strength, and jumped directly from the Kocho medicine house, heading towards another evil ghost's breath. There was more than one evil ghost attacking Takanagawa village. With Enji's super perception, another evil ghost had just sneaked into the west of the village. In order to speed up and stop the evil ghosts from killing as quickly as possible, Shinichi activated the blood demon technique, violent blood while running the forest breathing with all his strength. The evil ghost had just entered the village, and before it had time to kill, a green figure rushed towards it at a very fast speed. This evil ghost with two long horns was not like the green-faced evil ghost that lost its mind due to hunger. It was very cautious and followed behind its hungry companion. It dared to follow after making sure that its companion did not threaten it after killing. However, this time, the two-horned ghost miscalculated. By the time Shinichi reacted to the coming of him, it was too late, because his retreat was also locked by a black afterimage. With a strong and agile body and a mouth full of sharp wolf teeth, the speed of Yuan air in the demon state was as fast as a limit. How is it possible? Where did these two guys come from? The two-horned ghost was horrified. It didn't know where to run for a while after being locked in front and behind. Veins popped out of his hands holding the sword, his scarlet right eye locked onto the two-horned demon, and the fangs in his mouth stretched out uncontrollably, forest breathing one form. Shinichi held the Sun Will sword horizontally, and the green blade light shone from the blade. However, before Shinichi's one form was slashed out, a sharp whistling sound suddenly exploded, and then, before the two-horned demon, the demon turned Enji, and even Shinichi himself could react. The two-horned demon's head exploded like a watermelon, and countless pieces of flesh and bones flew around like flowers scattered by the sky. Bang! Smoke and dust were stirred, and a big pit appeared on the ground. What? Shinichi was startled and suddenly stopped his charge. The demon turned Enji also braked with his four claws, stopped his steps, and transferred his bow. He stood up and faced the dark alley with an extremely alert attitude, his fangs bared, and a low snoring sound came from his throat. At the same time, Shinichi and Yuenji's telepathy kept ringing Yuenji's alert. There was a very strong and powerful breath in the alley. Not only Yuenji, but even Shinichi could feel the pressure from the alley with his own perception. At this time, the smoke and dust surrounding the deep pit gradually dissipated. Shinichi glimpsed through his peripheral vision that in the deep pit, a pure metal meteor hammer the size of a human head was lying quietly. At the end of the meteor hammer, a thick iron chain was connected. The most terrifying thing was not this, but on that meteor hammer, Shinichi felt a familiar breath. The breath of the Sun Will sword. The material of the meteor hammer is the same as the Sun Will sword. As expected, the evil ghost whose head was just smashed by the meteor hammer has turned into ashes. Hulahu. In the alley, there was a sound of dragging chains. Shinichi and Enji immediately tensed their bodies, and a tall figure gradually walked out of the alley. Seeing the familiar black uniform of the Demon Slayer Corps, Shinichi was slightly stunned. Soon, this member of the Demon Slayer Corps walked out of the alley. He looked quite young, no more than 20 years old, but his body had reached an astonishing 2 meters. Just standing there, he was very oppressive, and he wore a string of red Buddhist beads around his neck. The young Demon Slayer Corps member also held a giant axe flashing with cold light in his left hand. The end of the axe handle was also connected to an iron chain. Looking closely, the meteor hammer and the giant axe seemed to be connected to the same iron chain. The appearance of the Demon Slayer Corps member was very special. While full of determination, it also revealed the compassion of a bodhisattva. A long scar on his forehead revealed the majesty of King Kong, but the most eye-catching thing was probably his white eyes. This Demon Slayer Corps member was a blind man. Shinichi secretly took a step back. What a joke. The pressure from the young demon slayer in front of him was even stronger than that from the lower moon 4. What kind of monster is this? Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Swish. The blind demon slayer just gently pulled with one hand, and the meteor hammer that was originally lying quietly in the pit was immediately taken back with a whistle and stopped steadily in his hand. Then, the pair of white eyes that had lost focus looked in the direction of Shinichi and Enji, and a low and soothing voice came out of his mouth, the breathing swordsman surrounded by strong vitality, the fighting partner exuding the breath of demons, turned out to be the successor of the forest. Breath mentioned by the Lord, Namo Amitba, nice to meet you. The pressure on Shinichi's shoulders suddenly disappeared. This demon slayer who seemed to know him should have lifted his hostility towards him, which made Shinichi feel relieved. Shinichi was not surprised that the members of the demon slayer knew him. During the half-year of killing evil spirits, Shinichi encountered the demon slayers who also came to kill evil spirits more than once. Although the encounter with the demon slayers was not good at the beginning, after many contacts with the demon slayers, Shinichi had to admit that many of the swordsmen who joined the demon slayers were brave and fearless warriors, and they had excellent noble qualities. In Kawanishi Prefecture, Shinichi even witnessed a young gun-class swordsman who insisted on biting the Nichiren sword with his mouth to fight the evil spirits until the last moment after his two arms were torn apart by an evil spirit. In order to protect ordinary people, faced with such a scene, Shinichi could not help but admire it. Demon Slayer, who are you? Why are you here? Shinichi also let down his guard and asked the tall demon slayer opposite him. He seemed to have heard the man say something about Namo Amitba, and the Buddhist beads on his neck. Is he a monk? Sure enough, the next second, the demon slayer put his hands together and said, Namo Amitba, I am the class A swordsman of the demon slayer corps, Gyumei of Bimingyu. It was dawn. In the butterfly medicine house, the uniformed members of the hidden corps were dealing with the aftermath. Butterfly Kane and her sister just huddled aside, watching these members with the word hidden printed on their backs collect the bodies of their parents and quickly clean up the bloodstains everywhere in the medicine house. Mr. Gyumei is really amazing. There are more than 50 demons, right? Then Mr. Gyumei can be promoted to a pillar when he returns this time. A member of the hidden corps said to his companions with an admiring tone. His companion also responded in a respectful tone, yes, Mr. Xingming has also become a pillar, and our demon slayer corps is becoming more and more powerful. That the two of them looked at the tall figure in the yard of the medicine house at the same time. Xingming and Shinichi stood side by side with their hands clasped together, both of them silent. Looking at Shinobu Kocho standing alone with her sister, Shinichi couldn't help but ask Xingming beside him, what will they do in the future? Xingming was silent for a moment and replied, the members of the hidden corps will send them to their relatives' homes so that they can grow up healthily like normal children. For them who have lost their loved ones, this is the best choice. The children are very weak, but very cruel. Namo Amitba. As if recalling the past, 2 lines of tears slid from Xingming's white eyes. Shinichi opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything. Just like Xingming said, sending these 2 children to their relatives' homes might be the best choice. Not long after, old man Marimu, leaning on a cane, also came to the butterfly pharmacy. After not seeing each other for more than half a year, old man Marimu had aged a lot. Before Shinichi left, he was still a spirited old man, but when the two met again, old man Marimu was already a hunched old man who needed to rely on a cane to walk steadily. Old man, you are old. Shinichi looked at old man Marimu with a complicated look, but old man Marimu smiled and shook his head. You have grown up, Shinichi, now you are a truly excellent successor of the forest breathing. I can see that you have made a lot of progress and learned a lot in the past 6 months. But, old man, I failed your expectations. I didn't join the Demon Slayer Corps. I even deliberately avoided the Demon Slayer Corps. I even broke your ancestral forest dragon. Shinichi said with some guilt, pulling out the broken Sunwell sword from the scabbard. Old Master Mori took the Nichiren sword with some trembling, and looked at the broken blade of the Nichiren sword. Although there was regret in his eyes, he was more relieved. Shinichi, whether you join the Demon Slayer Corps or not, as long as you use the forest breathing correctly and pass it on, you will always be my most proud disciple. As for the forest dragon, it is just an external object after all. If the ancestors knew, they would also praise your bravery in hunting ghosts, and would not blame you for breaking the blade because of hunting ghosts. Old Master. Shinichi's heart trembled a little. I don't know how to describe my feelings at this moment. At the same time, Beiminjiu Xingming also came here, bowed and greeted. Namo Amipa, meet Senior Moriki, the Lord greets you and wishes you all the best. Old man Moriki also returned the greeting. Moriki Mitsuyo is ashamed of the Demon Slayer Corps. The Lord said that the Moriki family has been brave for generations, and the Demon Slayer Corps will never forget the dedication of the Moriki family. Hearing this, old man Moriki's cloudy eyes were slightly moist. Time passed slowly. Looking at the figure not far away, the young Kocho Shinobu clenched her fists, gritted her teeth, mustered up the courage to cheer herself up, and finally walked forward quickly and pulled the man's clothes. Shinichi felt his clothes being pulled, and when he looked back, his eyes suddenly met a pair of violet eyes. The inexplicable pressure made Shinobu Kocho feel as if she was restricted from speaking. Yes, teach me, I want to kill demons like you. Although she spoke haltingly, Shinobu Kocho's last sentence about killing demons was very firm, and Shinichi understood what she meant. Shinobu Kocho had just made a vow with her sister that they would become people who could kill demons like Shinichi, kill demons, and prevent the tragedy of last night from happening to other innocent people. Shinichi could understand Shinobu Kocho. He turned his head and looked at Grandpa Moriki, who shook his head slowly. Grandpa Moriki had been with the butterfly family for many years. Whether it was out of his own feelings or objectively because of Shinobu Kocho's thin body, Grandpa Moriki did not think that Shinobu Kocho was suitable to be a swordsman. Understanding what Mr. Moriki meant, Shinichi had to squat down and said to Shinobu Kocho seriously and with a hint of apology, "Shinobu, I understand your feelings, but ghost hunting is not an easy thing. It means that you may be injured or even killed at any time. You must always coexist with crises. Such a responsibility should not be borne by you. Promise me to live well with your sister, and entrust your will to me. I promise that I will kill more evil ghosts with your will in the future." Shinichi called Shinobu Kocho's name so gently for the first time, but there was a clear rejection in the gentle tone. Shinobu Kocho bit her lip and did not speak, but her clenched fist showed that her heart was not calm. On the other side, Kane Kocho, who also looked lost, stood behind Xingming of Sad Island, and seemed to have been rejected. Shinichi sighed and just wanted to get up and leave, but the corner of his clothes was grabbed by Shinobu Kocho again. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you a cold-faced man before. I'm really sorry, and thank you." Shinichi was slightly stunned. "It's okay." Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moriki Mansion, which was a bit desolate on weekdays, became even more desolate after Chinana Rokua went to Kyoto Prefecture to run the Moriki family's business half a month ago, especially after old man Moriki sent back all the servants responsible for boiling water and doing odd jobs. The deep Moriki Mansion looked more like a big coffin. In the words of old man Moriki, he was actually used to living alone, and the mansion later was rejuvenated a little bit because of Chinana Rokua, which was actually quite good. However, looking at old man Moriki leaning on a cane, Shinichi felt a little uncomfortable in his heart, but the old man was very open-minded. Without servants, he personally cooked a pot of hot wisteria tea for Shinichi, and the two sat face to face on a small table, just like the scene when they first met. Mr. Mori was still kneeling meticulously, and Shinichi was also sitting cross-legged casually. "How was it? What did you experience on this trip? Tell me about it." Mr. Mori handed a cup of steaming wisteria tea to Shinichi. Looking at the wisteria flowers floating in the teacup, Shinichi was a little absent-minded, then picked up the teacup and slowly told everything he had experienced in the past 6 months, starting from the first evil ghost Injian encountered in Terasai village. He talked about the recent return to the Mori mansion because of the slaying of the cow ghost and the breaking of the forest dragon. "What a wonderful experience, Shinichi. I believe you must have learned a lot during this period of time. Do you still have the same hatred for evil ghosts as you did at the beginning?" Mr. Mori asked with a smile. Shinichi thought for a moment and said calmly, yes, at the beginning, I did hold great hatred to kill all the evil spirits I met. I disdain to understand the experience of those evil spirits. Killing those evil spirits is just to enhance my own strength. The motivation for all this is my own hatred. However, during this period of time, I have seen too many people who lost their loved ones because of evil spirits. I deeply understand their hatred. Gradually, I found that if it is really just compared to the hatred of evil spirits, many people's hatred is actually deeper than mine, and those evil spirits, even if I deeply hate ghosts, sometimes I have to admit that some ghosts were indeed pitiful people when they were alive, and the darkness in some human hearts is more terrible than them. From then on, I also roughly understood that my obsession was too deep. I should not be bound by my hatred. What I want to become is the existence that can truly reduce or even eliminate all the roots of all this. After the words fell, there was silence. Old man Marimo held a cup of already cold wisteria tea and remained silent for a long time. The turbid eyes contained no longer relief, but a deep shock. I understand, Shinichi, you are very good. In addition, I can also feel that your forest breathing has improved. You have comprehended the sword form after the 7th form, right? Asked Mr. Mori with emotion. Shinichi also nodded and admitted, yes, I have comprehended the 8th and 9th forms. Good. Mr. Mori smiled excitedly. The forest breathing was not only passed down, but also revived again. This was definitely the best news for Mr. Mori. The biggest regret of his life was settled. After saying this, Mr. Mori also mentioned the last thing to Shinichi. Do you still have any grudges against the Demon Slayer Corps? Shinichi did not speak, but still shook his head. In the past 6 months, several contacts with the Demon Slayer Corps have already changed his views. He really couldn't hate those brave swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps because of the frictions in Shirai Mountain. Then, are you willing to join the Demon Slayer Corps? Shinichi suddenly raised his head and looked at Grandpa Mori. Seeing the serious expression on the old man's face, it didn't seem like he was joking. Grandpa, are you serious? The regret of the Mori family has always been that no one can truly inherit the breath of the forest. Therefore, no one of the Mori children from ancient times to the present can deserve the title of Mori Pillar, but you, Shinichi, you are the most promising person I have ever seen. So, just for the last wish of this old bone, Shinichi, are you willing to inherit the surname of Mori and become the real Mori Pillar? Boom. Shinichi's heart was shaken. Surname? Since he came to this world, he has no surname. How can an orphan beggar have a surname? Shinichi himself has never considered this matter, but now, looking at the hope in the eyes of the aging Grandpa Mori, and thinking of everything he has experienced, in this world, Grandpa Mori is really the best person to him. Shinichi actually knows very well that Grandpa Mori there is a reason why he has become so old in just half a year. Half a year ago, in order to pass on the breath of the forest to Shinichi as much as possible, Mr. Moriki forced the breath of the forest to operate almost every day, overdrawing his vitality, and striving to show the most perfect breath of the forest to Shinichi. Shinichi saw all this clearly. In fact, Shinichi always felt that there was an inexplicable bond that connected him with the Moriki family. In his mind, the demon ancestor of the Moriki family and his own blood demon art that was closely related to the breath of the forest, everything seemed to be destined. After a moment, Shinichi made up his mind and raised his head. Grandpa, Ah! The sudden cry of little Yuenji interrupted Shinichi's words. Turning his head, Yuenji, with his ears drooping, looked aggrieved. As expected, without Rukawa Chinana, no one paid attention to the cute little dog. No one cared when he was hungry. The poor little Shiba Inu missed the big sister Chinana who liked to hold him and spin around. In just 2 days, Shinichi, who had just returned to Moriki's mansion, once again carried his luggage. Well, it can't be said to be carried. All the big bags of things were put into the silver mirror hanging around his waist. The broken Mori dragon was still on Shinichi's waist. The broken part was taken back by the old man. The old man said that this was a sign from the ancestors. After all, Mori dragon was not Shinichi's sword. Shinichi should have his own sword. Now the broken Mori dragon should indicate that Shinichi is a new starting point, so the broken Mori dragon was left in Shinichi's hand as a symbol, hanging the obviously shorter Nichiren sword on the belt buckle on his waist. Shinichi took Enji and said goodbye to the old man Moriki in front of the gate of Moriki's mansion. Old man, we are leaving. Take care of your own body. I will bring back the glory of the Mori Pillar. After Shinichi walked a distance, he suddenly turned back and shouted in the direction of the old man Moriki. The old man Moriki, who was leaning on a cane, smiled and waved his hand. I believe in you, Shinichi, you will definitely become the Mori Pillar. With a new goal, Shinichi, oh no, it should be said that Moriki Shinichi, set out on the journey again.